Good morning and welcome to today's CABE Webinar Wednesday. Today we are looking at 6 steps to growing a great business with Chris Churchman from Action Coach. CABE provides extensive support and learning for its members, and this webinar is aimed at those of you who run your own business but want more from it, and those of you starting up your own business and want to learn what pitfalls to avoid. Just as a building must be properly constructed and maintained for it to last the test of time, the same applies for a great business. This webinar will reveal the framework for a great business that gives you the life you want to lead, that has worked for business owners around the world over many years. My name is Lauren, and I am the Publications and Communications Lead here at CABE, and I'm going to be acting as moderator for this morning's session. CABE strives to create interactive webinars, and we encourage you to submit any questions via the Q&A panel during the session. These questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation. We will try to get through as many as possible, but if we do run out of time, we will collect any questions to follow up and send the answers out in due course. And as per the email address on the screen there, you can also email webinars@cbuilde.com. Let me introduce today's webinar speaker, Chris Churchman from Action Coach. Chris is a seasoned professional with over 30 years of experience as a business owner and coach. With a master's in training and a background in accountancy and sales, he brings a unique blend of strategic insight and coaching expertise. Chris has empowered individuals and organisations throughout their careers to achieve their goals and drive meaningful growth. So now I'll hand over to Chris and the presentation will begin.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lauren. If I can now share my screen at the moment, I'm waiting for that to be enabled. Here we go. Fantastic. Thanks. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm actually delighted to have a chance to spend about 45 minutes with all of you to help you with your business. What education is out there in terms of how to set up and run your own business? There's nothing in the school, a curriculum. There's things like MBAs, but they're really probably more suited for people working at senior level with large organizations. But running a business, which I presume many of you are doing, there is very little out there. So what I want to do this morning is achieve 3 things. I want to educate you in what's the best way that you can develop and grow your business. What I don't know is what your level of ambition might be, and we haven't got the time to find that out today. What I'm going to do is share with you the 6 steps that work for thousands of businesses over 30 plus years, either myself or with a load of my colleagues who support business owners trying to make their business more successful. Your business will get better because you learn to become how to become a better business owner even. So that's what I'm really going to try and help you to acquire, is this appetite to get better at certain things. Now, your knowledge of how you run your business, I don't know. There are some things within this webinar which you'll go, yep, tick, done that, Chris, thanks very much. Other areas I hope it's going to make you think, oh, hang on a second, or I didn't know that. But you'll want to go and work at getting better and better at that. So that yearning to learn is really, really important. And to inspire. I want to give you, too fast. I want to give you ideas, tips, and strategies that you can apply to your business immediately. I'll say it now and I'll say it at the end of the webinar. You're wasting your time if you put your notes down at the end of this webinar and just head off back to the day job as such. It's all about application. So take note of 1, 2, 3 things which you want to try out in your business over the coming days and weeks. And through that action, I'm sure you'll see some great improvements in where your business is right now. Now, I was having a look at the CABE website, and it does say right at the top about the interplay of materials, technologies, systems, services to improve function and performance of buildings. And that's exactly what I want to do today, is to help improve the functionality and the performance of your business. Now, there's one thing I would love to know, and if you can all get your phones out or go to this link here and click, and I'm just going to go and activate this, so just bear with us. I'm just going to come out of this for a moment. I want to get an understanding of the scale of your businesses, because it's going to help me just to understand how I need to spend time on topics today. So there's one of the 6 steps. I've just activated that now. I'll go back to the Menti, the slide, so you can see that again. So just share my screen again. Right, so there's the code and the link. So just go to menti.com. I'll hold that for a moment, and then I'm just going to zip across. You'll see the survey results come out in front of you. Is it just you? Are you an employee? You're joining on behalf of the company you work for, or have you got a business 1 to 5 or 5+ staff? Hope you all got that now. Let's go and see what we're coming up on the survey. Laura, is anything coming through in terms of people can't access it or anything? Because there's no scores coming through at the moment.
I haven't. Nobody's messaged. Q&A. Let's have a look. A couple of people were asking for the code. Maybe perhaps if you just show the code again, Chris, that might help.
If I show it's on the top of the slide results, actually. So let me just come out of that a moment, show it again. There you go. So you can see it's right at the top of the screen there, 61301339. The reason I'm asking this question is because one of the 6 steps of growing a business is about teams. And I want to just see how much time I need to spend on that. Here we go. First scores are coming in. So you can see those in a folder view right in front of you. So we are tending to be on the smaller scale, 0 to 1 or 1 to 5 staff. So what I would do is I won't spend an enormous amount of time talking about the team element of our 6 steps framework. But if any of you do want to pick up on that a little bit later on, perhaps you can do that through the Q&A session. But we do need to move on in this tight time frame that you do have today. So stop the share, go back to the slides themselves, and let's get cracking in earnest. Right. Be present for these 45 minutes or so. So turn your phones off, WhatsApp messaging closed down, inbox is shut down, be 100% present in the room, and you'll get as much as you can do out of a webinar, being here, be present right now. So avoid all those distractions, people around you, tell them to shut up. Have an open mind. Yep. There'll be certain things you'll be pleased to hear about today, and you'll be going, great, I'm doing that, Chris, excellent. There are other things you think, well, I've tried that, it doesn't work. However, please do have an open mind about it. Ask yourself this question when we touch on a topic. Is there a way that I could apply that to my business? Yep. Just pause yourself for a moment. Don't dismiss things summarily out of hand. Fundamentally, I'm in the business of helping yourselves and other business owners to have what they want out of life, to live the life they want to lead, do the things they want to do, take the travel, etc. How do you get there? Well, you've got to do stuff, and the majority of today's webinar is about the things you need to do in order to accelerate or stabilize your business. There's also something here about your mindset, your attitude, your beliefs. Yep. There's a book written by a very famous executive coach called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. You need to evolve, you need to change over time. So certain things you hold true right now, you may need to question that in terms of your ability to move forwards. So I'll be challenging you both in terms of mindset, as well as helping you understand what you need to be doing. So a question, this is a rhetorical question. I'm not looking for an answer. You don't need to put anything in the Q&A box. Is your business driving you, which means you have to be there all the time? If you're not there, the business doesn't operate. It doesn't earn money. Or are you driving the business, which means you've got overall control and you can kind of turn up as and when you want. Now, that may seem an odd thing. Well, I love being a building engineer. That's what I want to do. However, it's about the choice, your involvement. Think of it perhaps as being the captain of a liner. You're in the bridge and you're overlooking everything in front of you, and you've got everybody underneath you scurrying around, enjoying their holiday, doing their stuff, and the engine's working and your staff's working on behalf, you don't need to be there all the time. You've got a good number two. So right now, on a score of 0 to 10, 0 being I've got no control at all, I've got to be there 24/7, 52 weeks of the year, or 10, I can take 6 months off and travel around the world and I'm still earning money, my business is still generating profit. What score would you give yourself? I'm going to ask the same question at the end to see what your score is now that you understand what are the 6 steps. So how would you score yourself right now? Our definition of a successful business. A commercial, that simply means it's a product or service that's in demand. Profitable, you're generating more revenue than it's costing you to run the business. That works, it's got systems and processes that means it ticks over every single day, does things efficiently, does things without making mistakes. It's got the ability to grow without overheating. Without you, meaning, as I said already, you don't need to be there if you don't want to. Yep. So that's the path we want you to think about in terms of your business. Commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So what are the steps I've mentioned in the title? First things first, you've got control over the business's ability to operate seamlessly from day to day. It's eliminating the mistakes. You're not having to say work all the hours that God gave you. It's getting the basics right. It's putting fires out. It's creating stability, a routine. Yep. Niche or marketing. It's creating the marketing machine that generates the business that you want for the type of clients you want to work with, the scale of the work, the type of projects that you want. Yep. You're in control of that rather than you're having to make decisions on the work that comes to you, which you may not really be that keen on. Now, you're trying to create the reputation that you want to have. Leverage. This is about systems and processes, being able to do more with less, not having to do things manually, for instance. It's about generating the cash through greater efficiency for you to invest in new systems and or in your team. Yeah. So you've now got a team of people who are looking after the systems that run the business, that generate the income that you want to have. And you reach a point, if you so choose to do so, where you can actually get somebody to run the operation for you, have a general manager. It also means that you can replicate it. It means that if you wanted to, and not knowing the scale of the businesses in the room, you may already have separate offices in different towns, for instance, or you may want to go down that particular path. But as Richard Branson, amongst others, has been quoted saying, once you set up one business that works well, you can do it with any number of further businesses. Yep. And businesses like McDonald's are premised on this. You know, they've got a very structured business operation, and you buy it if you want to buy into their franchise, and they give you the systems and processes for you to set up McDonald's around the corner. And ultimately, we're in business to be able to lead the life you want to lead. It's generating the income for you to do what you want, whether you want to go traveling, whether you want to put your kids through private school, whether you want to do voluntary work or invest or charitable works, want to set up a trust. But the results come from your business for you to have the option to choose to do those things if you so want. Yep. A way of thinking about it in building terminology is if you haven't got firm foundations, that's mastery. Yep. As soon as you start putting layers on top, the business is under greater stress, and at some point it will implode. And you as the business owner will bear the brunt of that, how good that might be for your health, your well-being, your income, relationships, and so on. So we are going to spend the majority of our time this morning looking at mastery. And as we go up each level, and we'll stop at team, we won't go any further than team, we'll be a little less and less time on each topic, because fundamentally, foundations aren't solid, your business won't work in the long run. And if you haven't got any questions about team and leverage, etc., you can ask that at the end of this morning. So let's start with mastery. Okay. So mastery, a reminder, is a commercial, which means it's a business that provides a product or service that is in demand, and you've got control over that. So there are 4 areas. Now I'm going to talk about these, and as I go through these, think about this. Where am I right now with this? Have I got to do something about this? Remember, I made that point about make notes of what may be particular actions that you want to take to get more solidity, stability, or growth potential in your business. Step number 1 is be clear about where you're heading. Have you actually got an end state in mind? When you want to retire? When you want to sell the business by? What valuation you might want to sell your business by? Just a couple of examples there. But if some of you have read Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, chapter 2 is start with the end in mind. Yep. Because it informs everything you do, the choices you make, the decisions you make. Otherwise, it's haphazard, it's unstructured, it's unfocused. And more often than not, I've seen people start with the hamster wheel going faster and faster, and all you're doing is keeping still or possibly slipping back slightly. You want to be crystal clear. So have you got goals written down? And the first goal I challenge you to think about would be a personal goal. Yep. We're in business to lead the life you want to lead. And so often when I start working with business owners, their personal life is gone out the window. They haven't got time for themselves, for their family, to take a break. I was speaking to somebody yesterday who I've been introduced to, having been told, Chris, you really ought to talk to this person. And they replied and said, I haven't got time at the moment. Yeah, well, that can't go on. It's bad for health. Our diet possibly gets worse. We put on weight. We're less fit. The business needs the best version of you to turn up every single day. We're just at the start of the second quarter of the year. What about setting yourself a personal goal for this quarter? An exercise regime, a weight target you want to hit. But it has a beneficial impact on your performance at work. So, personal goal. And then business goals. Talk about ultimate goals. What are your goals for the year? Have you got goals for the quarter? Have you got goals for the week? Yep. Creating that discipline, that framework, which may seem a little bit touchy-feely to possibly, has far greater impact than you might imagine. So do you have a business plan that captures all of this? What needs to be done, when it needs to be done by? So have you got goals? Have you got a business plan? And if your answers to both of those is not really at the moment, that's a pretty damn good place to start. Money mastery. I am amazed. I never expected this. When I started working with business owners, I never expected the lack of knowledge, awareness of how their business is performing from a financial perspective. And there are some contributory factors to that. Perhaps we're not very good with numbers. Accountancy is full of jargon. It's not that easy to understand. So that might be something that kind of complicates things. It's just not your bag. But think of knowing your numbers as your dashboard. You get in the car, you're going to look at, have I got fuel in the tank? Have I got charge on the battery? So things like that. And you need that window, that clarity about how is my business performing right now. Yep. So you're often left in the lurch by accountants. Again, I'm surprised how many accountants are passive and will do your year-end accounts, and then at that point you find out, oh, how my business is performing. But probably the key bits of information you need. Well, there's a phrase that goes, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, cash flow is reality. Have you got a cash flow forecast? What money has to go out and when? Tax payments, VAT payments, for instance, salary, wages, bills, etc. Knowing your cash flow going forwards is a really, really important discipline. Most accounting software enables that. If you put in the information, it will give you that type of information. A profit and loss statement on a regular basis, not a year-end statement from your accountant, not knowing the scale of your business, but certainly at least every month. Yep. How have I performed this month? Have I sold more than I've been charged? Yep. What's selling well? What isn't selling so well? Where have my costs run out of control? If you're doing work on behalf of a client, they'll be all over you like a fine tooth comb in terms of the budget and making sure they're not spending more money. Well, let's not be hypocritical here. Let's apply this to ourselves. So we've got a profit and loss statement. If you are not particularly keen on doing this stuff, you've got an accountant or bookkeeper who can do this for you. Get them to get it through to you really quickly after the month end. Larger businesses will expect to have a set of accounts available within at the latest 2 weeks after the month end, the 15th, around now, if your March figures, if you want to think about it that way. Yep. Ideally quicker than that. Yep. Because the better the quality information in front of you, the better the quality of decisions you're going to make. And a balance sheet. A balance sheet is a statement of net wealth. How many assets have I got compared to my liabilities? Accounting software, things like QuickBooks, Sage, etc., will provide this for you if you're using that. Again, if it's not your bag, then have you got something to do it for you, either within your business or externally? But having that financial dashboard is essential to tell you where your business is right now, so you can make early decisions to help improve the business from where it is right now. Time mastery. How many of you thought when you started setting up your own business that you work less hours? Somehow it doesn't often work out like that. Yep. I've already shared one anecdote of somebody I've been introduced to who's really struggling. Look, time is the same for all of us. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's how you use your time. Yep. And one way of thinking about this is the distinction between working on the business and working in the business. Working on the business would be things like strategizing, planning, reviewing, innovating. That's where growth comes from in a business. If all you're doing is the day-to-day stuff, operations and so on, there's a handbrake on your business. You need to make choices. Can you systemize things so you can do things faster? Can you delegate things so you get them out of your inbox? Now, if you're on camera and you can see this flip chart, you're the owner, and typically any business has 5 departments or divisions. A marketing department, which is about making a noise. I exist. Who wants my services? Sales, bids, tenders, quotes, getting the order. Operations, delivery of the projects or assignments that you won. Finance and admin, F&A, and HR. A number of you got very small businesses, but you've got to do things like recruitment and or appraisals probably, and motivational stuff to keep your team satisfied and happy. How much time are you spending on these activities at the moment? If you track for a couple of weeks how you're using your time, I bet in a fortnight you look at that and go, oh, hang on a second, that balance isn't right. So you need to make some choices about what you can delegate, what you can defer, what you can dump, and what you must do. The 4 Ds of time management: do, delegate, defer, and dump. Get smarter in terms of how you use your time. Yep. Do you have a scheduled routine? Doing certain things at a certain time during the course of the week is a great discipline. Some of us are more structured than t'other, but if you're hopping from one thing to t'other, research tells you you'll never get as much done as if you do things in a structured way. Having a default diary, setting out what you need to do which every day of the week. I mean, there needs to be some flexible time, but certain activities for sales or marketing, operations or admin are ring-fenced, and you get into that rhythm or routine and you'll be far more productive as a consequence. And finally, delivery mastery. Are your customers getting the product or service you provide on a consistent, reliable, timely basis? In this day of social media recommendations and so on, it only takes a one poor piece of work because you didn't deliver on time, in full, in spec, for somebody to brief against you and that can spread very, very quickly and have a real impact on your ability to get more work in the future. Yep. You can't allow your service standards to be compromised. Just make sure you've got the ability to deliver as promised. Yep. The major reason why businesses walk away from their suppliers is not price and price increases. Survey I've seen says only 14% of customers leave because of price hikes. In fact, I've increased my prices at the end of every year to reflect costs and so on. I've never had one customer turn around and say, Chris, I'm sorry, we can't use you anymore. Running a good quality service, then they're going to be far more accommodating. 68% of people leave because of low, poor customer standards and services and unreliability. You provide a fantastic experience to your clients, they'll stay with you. And more than that, they'll refer you to others. A double win. Yep. So looking at how you don't overpromise, you make sure that you provide the right level of service and standards that you've set for yourself. Your clients understand that. They're not disappointed. So if you were to score yourself right now to 10 in terms of how clear are you about your destination, what's your level of money mastery, how efficiently you're using your time, how consistent, reliable your service standards, delivery, what score would you give yourself? 0 being rubbish, 10 being world class. And once you've got those scores, ask yourself the question, what do you want to do about that? So that's the 4 areas of mastery. Let's move on now to marketing niche. Yep. A commercial profitable enterprise. So this is about generating the profit through the marketing activities you do to be able to live the life you want to lead ultimately. Yep. Competing on price is the most dangerous marketing strategy you can have. What type of clients are you going to attract on that basis, and how long will they stay? They're only interested in you because you're the cheapest on the block right now. And as soon as somebody else comes along, they're off. You don't want those type of clients. Yep. So no price guarantee. So no price competition. You want to avoid that completely. You need to think about what is your USP. Now, this is a commonly used phrase, USP. What sets you apart? It doesn't have to be that what you do isn't provided by anybody else in the world. It can be as much as how that you do it. The attention to detail, for instance. You don't fall into the traps that a lot of your competition might do. And do you offer a guarantee? Peace of mind. I'm not quite sure what the institutes, or the association, I should say, standards are in that respect, and whether a guarantee is provided for being a member or being a member of CABE. But do think about this. If you make a noise about the standards that you follow, it's accredited, it's approved at a higher level, and your competition is saying that, people are doing their research. What might they think? Hang on a second, there's a bit more with these people. I've got a bit more trust or assurance about using these people because they talk about their guarantee or service levels that they aspire to. So you create a niche for yourself by giving people the confidence of knowing that what you get with us is this type of level. And it might be simple as just making a noise about things that are expected or demanded of you by being a member of the association. Is that in your marketing literature? Could anybody find that on your website, for instance? Test and measure. Probably the single most important double act for any type of business. Yep. Measure what you're doing. I talked a few moments ago about how you're using your time. In terms of your marketing, measure the marketing you're doing, how much you spent on it, what type of interest or response or engagement do you get, what business do you get out of that, what type of business, and then you can evolve or test your marketing strategies based on what you know right now. So question, first of all, do you have a marketing budget? You're doing ad hoc? Well, not particularly scientific way of going about working out what your best marketing strategy should be. Do you have a marketing plan which you follow and pursue for a while? See what happens. Then you pause for a moment. What learnings do I draw from this? How do I evolve my marketing strategy? Very simple example. Let's say you have £100 budget for marketing and you're starting from scratch. I don't know what's going to work. No research has told you that this works better than t'other. Well, and this is for ease of numbers. I'm going to invest £10 in 10 separate strategies. Off we go. We do that for a period of time. After that period of time, we stop. What's worked, what hasn't worked? 3 of those haven't worked at all. Right, I've got £30 to reinvest somewhere else. One is really flying. Right, I'm going to put all 30 in that. Yeah. And over time, the strategies you initially used for marketing purposes, you narrow down because you're seeing through constant measurement that certain things are working better than t'other. Yep. So set a budget, however small it might be, and test it, measure it, and then evolve it. Now, profit growth. Most business owners, I hope you will know these numbers. But these are results. Where profit growth lies is in these factors. The number of leads times how good you are at converting them equals the number of customers you've got. How many times they order per period, let's take this over a year, and how much they spend each time they buy gives you your revenue. The profit margin you make on each sale gives you your profit. Question 1, do you know those numbers? If you don't, let's start tracking them. Yep, let's work out what they are. Can you go backwards or do you need to do it from today going forwards? Now, here's some simple numbers. I'll go straight through them. 4,000 leads, 25% conversion rate, etc. gets you ultimately to a £50,000 profit. Right. Now, what if we were able, through testing and measuring, to improve those numbers? Let's see what happens. And let's just assume it's 10% across the board. I'll make some comments on this in a moment. So customers have gone up by 21% already. Revenue has increased by 45% plus. So through 10% improvement across the board gives you a 61 or so % improvement in profit. Oh, what could you do with that 30 odd thousand pounds of additional profit? Interesting. Now, there's the real world intervenes here, of course. Some of these factors, the blues, leads, conversion rate, transaction, sale, and profit margins, will be easier to change than t'other. Yep. The single fastest way of improving your profit margin is increasing your prices. Do that today, and every sale going forwards, you got more money. When was the last time you reviewed your prices? When was the last time you hiked your prices? You could also cost control. When was the last time you examined how much you're spending on your services and products that you buy into your business? When did you last try to renegotiate what you're paying for that? What about looking for a new supplier who you think is good enough but perhaps provides it at a better rate? You actively spending time looking at that. This is a working on the business activity. Lifting your head out of the sand from the day-to-day doing stuff. Number of transactions. Well, for an estate agent, they'll get probably one sale per customer every 7 or 10 years. You know, when I bought a house 3 months ago, I'm going to buy another one now. That's not going to happen. Yep. Average sale. Can you throw in add-ons to the product or service you're selling? The best example of this case would be McDonald's. I'm going to McDonald's all the time. You go into McDonald's and order a Big Mac. What do they ask? Do you want fries with that? What are your fries? Is there something you can add on in terms of some form of warranty or service agreement possibly, which means you get a little bit more money on that one transaction? Conversion rate. Do you actually know what your conversion rate is right now? Most people I've worked with either don't or overestimate what their conversion rate is, and they start tracking it and they suddenly go, Blimey O'Reilly, it's 10%, not 30%, let's say. What's going on? You've worked really hard to get somebody to talk to you. Then what's happening that means that they don't ultimately buy? All those touch points that you might have, what experience they're receiving, are they warming to you? Plenty other people knocking on their door. If you can improve the onboarding process, the conversion process of a prospect to a client, what impact will that have to your bottom line, your profit? And number of leads. This will ultimately have the biggest impact, but it's probably the slowest in terms of impact. As a result of being on this today, for instance, I'm fairly certain in saying you won't suddenly have a whole load of more new leads tomorrow morning. You have to work out what's the marketing strategy that generates the type of inquiries you want from the type of clients you want. Goes back to test and measure it, talking about a moment ago. So some of these will be more maneuverable, manipulable than others in order to improve that profit. But it all requires you to step back for a moment. You need to know your numbers, and you can make some decisions or choices on the strategy to improve leads or improve your conversion rate, get people to buy more often, to spend more each time they're with you, and or to improve your profit margin. And that's a lot of the work I do with my clients is looking at, well, what strategies could you use to improve these numbers? All right, on to systems. If you're generating more profit, it allows you now to begin to invest in systems that help run the business more smoothly. Yep. A commercial profitable business that works and scales. Step 3. So, systems are the best time saver of all. Yep. Self-explanatory. So what are we referring to when we talk about systems? So, first of all, vision. This is about purpose. A lot of the efficiency in your business will come from having clarity about what your vision is, and anybody else who touches that, customers, suppliers, subcontractors, staff, if they're not aligned with what your vision is, what you're trying to do here, then your business won't work nearly as efficiently as you'd like it to. Kind of people are pulling in different directions. So some customers aren't right for you. Yep, they don't. I've got a client who's really big into sustainability, and he's been spending a lot of time talking to people who ultimately don't give a two hoots about sustainability. It's all about cost. And we've worked out that he really needs to maneuver away from that and say, if that's your focus, we're not the right supplier for you. Go and speak to X, somebody else instead. Mission: who we are, what we do, who we do it for. Yep. If you're going to bring staff on board, they need to buy into that, having the right type of customers. Vision is about purpose. Mission is about what we do. Culture, how we do it. And if for those of you who've got teams, this is really, really important. Your team can be the best inoculation or immunity system for your business if they're 100% behind you. But if they're not, I don't want to do it that way. I don't want to turn up that particular way, look that way, dress that way. I've got one client who's got an endemic problem with his staff who take umpteen fag breaks a day. They leave, they're a manufacturing business, they walk away, and everything just slows down to a halt almost. The culture allows that. It hasn't been challenged in the past. You need to be really clear about this is what we do, how we do it. And your existing team, I need to sign up to that. And or if you're going to recruit, people come on board knowing full well, this is what we do, how we do it. SMART goals. SMART being an acronym, I'm pretty sure quite a lot of you, if not all of you, will know what that stands for. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-related. Fundamentally, if a goal hasn't got a time or a date in it, it's not a SMART goal. I want to improve things is not a SMART goal. I want to improve profitability by 10% in the next 3 months is a SMART goal, because it would immediately begs the question, how am I going to do that? Organisation chart, clarity about who does what. There's no trespassing. There's no turf wars about what's. I thought I was meant to be doing that. Oh no, I'm meant to be doing that. And it also makes it easier for things to be delegated as a consequence of that. So you can see that I don't need to be doing that. I can pass on to somebody else. Job specs, positional contracts, clarity about what your role is, how it's meant to be done. KPIs, key performance indicators, key activity indicators, key behavior indicators. Businesses thrive because things are measured. Test and measure, I mentioned that earlier. In terms of performance, again, a thing I've been really surprised about working with business owners is how I want you to do this. That's the message they're giving to their staff. There's no understanding about what represents a good level of performance. There's no accountability. The business owner is their mate. And mates being mates, not doing this maliciously, will take advantage of that. You're their manager, not their boss, not in the workplace at least. So what represents the level of service, standard, productivity that the business needs, that's measured, and people are assessed against that. Is that in place right now? How-to systems. So any of us walk into one of your colleagues' businesses today, there's something there that tells them how we do this. A manual, a checklist, a video, anything that shows an operations Bible, which captures this is the way we do it. Quicker take up for newbies, something that can be evolved because as time moves on, technology comes in. We can do this differently now. We can do it a different way, but that's documented and is kept somewhere for all to be able to see. And management systems. When do you want your financial numbers available for the previous month? When are we going to have a quarterly planning meeting? When do we have a weekly planning meeting or review meeting? What information needs to be reported? What information needs to be communicated? This is all captured and documented, and is available. And this is where businesses really have the opportunity to scale now, because they can cope with growth. If you've got your sales and marketing machine working, then the systems can cope with the extra workload. Going back to the building metaphor, it can cope with the extra strain. The joists are there, effectively, to hold the building up and make it robust. And onto team. Systems run the business. Teams look after the systems. Systemize the business, humanize the exceptions. Right. You're the owner. If you were to draw a line, let me ask a question. Who's looking after the team right now? Who's looking after customers right now? Who's looking after the business, operations, admin, paperwork, and so on? I would imagine for quite a lot of you, there's a line going from you to all of them. Well, that's putting you under a tremendous amount of pressure, and that's only sustainable for a period of time. This is what you want to be moving towards. As the owner, you look after the team, you manage them, you build a great team, a highly competent team, who then look after the customers, fantastic customer experience. The customers reward the business by paying money on time, no bad debts, bringing in more business, reordering, giving referrals. And that means the business is able to look after the owner. So stop trying to do everything and start building a fantastic team who looks after the business for you. Strong leadership, that means you're available, visible, accessible. You don't hide. No team member can say, I don't know what I'm meant to be doing. I'm not sure. I don't know what our priority is. Common goal. So this is the priority for this quarter. We're looking to open up this new marketplace. We're looking to increase profitability, I should say, in that particular space. Clear rules of the game. We're all signed up to this. We don't allow one person to be a maverick and upset. Oh, I don't do that. I'm not turning up at 9 a.m. every morning like everybody else does. I'm turning up at 11 after a bender. No, that's not condoned. We're all in it together. That's clearly understood, and people either sign up to that or sayonara, I'm afraid, time to move on. There's an action plan, clarity about for the goals you set, what needs to be done, when, and by whom. That's clearly understood. Teams get energized because they're encouraged to come up with their ideas. Support risk taking. Somebody comes to you and says, look, I've been thinking about this. Then what about trying this and see what happens? Well, you're the ultimate arbiter. However, if you suppress that all the time, at some point, somebody's going to feel rather deflated by that and say, well, I'm not really given any credit here. My viewpoint isn't valued. They'll probably walk. People ask for their input and their ideas. Yep. In team meetings, it's not the manager owner warbling away for the length of the meeting. In fact, the best managers get the team to talk first, then summarize at the end. But that involvement creates a more motivated, energized team. So if you just score yourselves against those right now, how clear are you in terms of how available are you? How clearly are you sharing goals? Seen so many times where the team are unaware of what the priority for the business is because the owner, for whatever reason, isn't sharing that. So it's like two forces pulling in opposite directions. And this is a bit of a brutal slide in some respects, but if you're the driver of the bus, you're the owner, you reach the terminus, end of the day, everybody off please, see you tomorrow. Actually, how many people do you let back on the bus tomorrow morning because of the right attitude, they've got the right level of skills, etc., that the business needs? Very often we've got a load of passengers, which is what a bus is about, but passengers in terms of they're passive, they are not participating, contributing, they're a brake on the business. Now, what I've been going through, the 4 steps fundamentally so far, is that it's not about one seismic change, it's about marginal gains, as the British cyclists were talking about. Small changes have a compound impact. The 5 ways: improving leads, conversion rate, etc., has that massive impact on profit bottom line at the end of the day. And right now, how well do you know your numbers? How sophisticated is your dashboard, marketing numbers, financial numbers? If this webinar has provoked you to think, hang on a second, I'm a bit pretty poor at that, that'd be a pretty good starting point. Let's make these much more visible. I'll run through these slides. That one about getting a general manager, that's if you want to get to that point. Your business will get better because you work at becoming better as a business owner. So you might ask a couple of questions in a minute, and if I can suggest some book titles you want to go and read that might be valuable for that topic, I'll do my best to give you a topic there. But don't think the business world's going to get easier. Blimey, what's going on at the moment in the big wide world tells you that ain't going to be the case. You need to be agile and adapting as fast as possible so that you can get better and better as a business owner, and your business will benefit as a consequence. So, and I'm just about to hand back to Lauren. Couple of things here. We've been through this really, really quickly, and underneath the surface there's a lot more that we can be shared. If you'd like to have a follow-up half-hour gifted coaching session, Chris, I found this really interesting, I don't know how to deal with this particular issue, then by all means, reach out to me. That QR code will take you through to my Calendly link, and it's populated, I think it's up to the middle of May. So if you'd like to have a follow-up session, just to discuss something that's come out of this particular challenge in your business, probably about time, money, or your team, those are the 3 typical reasons why people want to have a chat with me, then I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'm very happy to do so. And to stress, it's gifted, it's free. That's entirely up to you, half an hour, and then I can see what we can come up with, what ideas you can take away. And there's a feedback form as well here, because this is the first time Cape have done this. So I think they're just as interested as anybody to know how this has gone down, and whether you would recommend it to others going forward. It'll take about 3 minutes to complete, I think. So I'll leave the QR code there for those of you who want to can fill that in. That'll be most appreciated. And the best time to do that is right now, before you forget about it. So finally, before I hand back to Lauren, you've spent 50 minutes so far away from the job, and I bet the world hasn't stopped. whilst you've been learning to become better at a business owner. And there's one takeaway I really want to emphasize for yourselves is find time to work on the business and work on yourself. Create a diary, block a time for me to strategize, to plan, to review, to innovate, and to learn. Lauren, back to you.
That's great. Thank you, Chris. And I'll just reiterate there the feedback form that you guys can see the QR code for on the screen. We will include that in our follow-up communications to all live attendees as well. So you will get that link again, just as a little reminder. But now we'll just have a look at the Q&A there. Okay, thank you to everyone that's engaged there. So there's just one question on there at the moment, Chris, which I'll definitely have to put your way as I'm not sure. So the question there, we've got the NPTA has a mouse and a bird as symbols. Do you know if there is a reason for selecting those symbols?
Oh, right. So that's the National Pest Technicians Association, who I've run this webinar for. So is that on? There must have been on one of the slides, presumably.
Yeah, there was a logo on one of your
Okay,
slides.
sorry, that was
Yeah.
bad editing on my part. So it's another trade
Presumably those
association I've
symbols are to
run.
do with it
Yeah,
being pest control then.
yeah, sorry. Oops.
That's all right. Okay, so lots of people saying thank you
Mhm.
and nice presentation. Thank you to everyone for that. I'll just give it a couple more minutes just in case anybody is trying to formulate a question and just wants to pop it
Yeah,
on
thanks.
there. Okay, so we've got a couple of more questions coming in. What would you suggest when a
Mm.
scenario comes up where you increase your input revenue quicker than you can have the resource for?
So if I understood the question correctly, you're getting a load of orders, but you haven't actually got the ability to deliver on time in full. I'm assuming it's that.
I think so, Chris.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
okay. Um, well, if I was to say don't, what's going to be worse? The reputational damage, or the impact to you personally of trying to scrabble to deal with this? Try this as a strategy. FOMO, the fear of missing out. Yep. So something along the lines through your marketing messaging that we only have space for this amount of new business this month, this quarter. You don't want to miss out. But what you're doing is you're raising the awareness that, hang on, I might not get this. You're beginning to manage people's expectations already. But you're trying to keep them sweet and want to keep up the Joneses in inverted commas. If that's a phrase I'm familiar with, at least. I don't want to miss out on this. They must be pretty good at what they're doing. If they're in demand, they're having to control. But think about trying to control your pipeline. I would suggest that's a far better strategy than allowing yourself to try and be all things to all people because of reputational damage. You are unable to deliver despite heroic efforts on your part. And I really don't think it's good for you and or your team, the stress, the burnout that could accrue from that. So you really want to try and avoid that. So by trying to limit the funnel as such, making people there's not so much space available at the moment, which implies you're in demand. Therefore, you need to move fast, and if not, there's a queue. And if you want to get in the queue, fantastic.
Um, the person that asked that question, Chris,
Yeah.
they have just added there. So we work in a service-based industry as opposed to product. We have
Mhm.
clients that provide us with regular work that increases. We don't have the cash flow to employ staff to accommodate for that level of work. Um,
All
I'm not
right.
sure if there was anything more you wanted to add just as a follow-up.
Well, if you've might be a question of mindset here, but if you've got a pipeline of work queued up like that, you want to go to somebody to borrow some cash to fund to tide you over, they'll be far more amicable or interested in providing support because they can see they're going to get their money back. It's a compelling case. Yeah. Look at our order book. In order to fulfill this, we need cash. Yep. Can you get the clients to pay money up front, or pay a regular stage payment? Is that a possibility? Yep. Otherwise, to get hands on additional cash, then you can go to a lender, and here's our cash flow forecast, here's our profit and loss forecast. We've got the work queued in, but we need the funding to be able to hire people and or systems to tide us over. You'll get a far more interested audience, because you've got that case to present.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Okay.
There is another question there. Someone is asking, how do you work with contractors?
Right. Presumably subcontractors who you bring in to work on a project that you've secured. In some respects, to the author of that question, it's the same as if they're an employee. You could demand the same standards. I coach a number of trades, and their biggest bugbear is the unreliability of subcontractors. I presume that's what's being asked about here, because they seem to just hot flip. Whoever's paying me more, I'll disappear off. So there needs to be a contract that clearly states the relationship, the expectation between both parties. Yep. So that's understood. You need to raise the bar very high. If you're going to work with us, then this is what we expect of you. This is the commitment we require of you. But they also need to be rewarded. I was at a presentation about 10 days ago, and the speaker was a very passionate individual, and he was saying, I pay really good money for my people. And if you pay peanuts, you get the phrase is. So this is not about pricing people at the market necessarily, because there's an impact on the bottom line. But what's more damaging to your business? People who are allowed to come and go because they're not really tied in, or you give them a compelling case about why you want to work with us, the opportunities, the challenges, the quality or type of work, but also you're really clear about this is what it's like to work here. You turn up on time. You've got to wear our clothing, if that's the phrase. These are the standards you need to meet. You set a bar, and you disqualify as many people as possible, the time wasters who aren't up for that. So you attract high caliber people. It means you need to pay a little bit more for that. But there's the flip side. Your ability to deliver and provide a fantastic service. It's a virtuous circle. Better the reputation, the more inquiries, the more income. And if you set those standards, then you'll be able to you'll get the right type of subcontractors and people who will be very reluctant to leave you.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
So just having another quick look at the Q&A there. There aren't any other open questions in there at the moment. And so looking at the time there, I think we can stop things there. Chris, thank you so much for your presentation.
A pleasure, Lauren.
And thank you to everybody that has joined us this morning. So just a quick reminder, we will share Chris's feedback form link in all the follow-ups after the webinar again, just to make sure everybody's got that. The session has been recorded, and we will upload it to the CABE YouTube channel in a few days, possibly the other side of the Easter holidays, and that can be shared with colleagues. But with that, I'll wrap up, and thank you very much to Chris once again, and to everybody for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Happy Easter, everyone.